Good day everyone. I am Adonis Vistal. I am going to discuss about the registration of aircraft, the regulation of shipping industry, and the regulation of land transportation. So first, I'm going to discuss about the registration of aircraft. So what is a registration of aircraft? An aircraft registration is a code unique to a single aircraft required by international convention to be marked on the exterior of every civil aircraft. The registration indicates the aircraft's country of registration and functions much like an automobile license plate or a ship registration. This code must also appear in each certificate of registration issued by the relevant Civil Aviation Authority or CAA. An aircraft can only have one registration in one jurisdiction, and though it changed over the life of the aircraft. In the law, only aircraft owned by lease to a citizen or citizen of the Philippines and which are not registered under the laws of any foreign country may be eligible for registration. So the discussion about this is the certificate of registration is conclusive evidence of ownership, except in proceeding which such ownership is an issue or when the aircraft is only under lease. So application of the law. Philippines Airline Company Flight 888 crashed in the mountains of Bukidnon, killing all the passengers of the aircraft. The airline company wants to know what really happened. Who was the jurisdiction to the incident? So, the legal opinion, the air the Air Transportation Office has the jurisdiction to investigate the aircraft accident and must submit its investigation report to the Civil Aeronautics Board. So, this is another application of the law. Grand Airline Company wants to engage in business of carrying passengers and goods by air. In addition, its pilots want to be licensed to operate the aircraft of the Grand Airline Company. In what government agency should Grand Airline Company and its pilot apply so that it will be accredited? So, the legal opinion, Grand Airline Company should apply to the Civil Aeronautics Board for a certificate of public convenience to operate as a common carrier. However, the pilot must secure a license to operate at the Air Transport Office. So, now let's go to the regulation of the shipping industry. Merchant shipping is one of the most heavily regulated industries and was among the first to adopt widely implemented international safety standards. Regulation concerning shippings are developed at the global level because shipping is inherently international. It is vital that shipping standard navigational rules and standards of crew competence. The alternative would be a plethora of conflicting national regulations, resulting in commercial distortions and demonstrative confusion, which could comprehend the efficiency of the world trade. The shipping industry is regulated by a combination of international, regional, and national bodies to ensure safety, environmental protection, and fair trade practices. Here are some key aspects of regulation in the shipping industry. First is the International Maritime Organization or IMO. Next is Safety of Life at Sea or SOLAS. International Convention for the Prevention of Pollution from Ships or MARPOL. The Port State Control or PSC. The Flag State Control. The European Maritime Safety Agency or EMSA. The national regulations. It's important to note that regulations are continuously evolving to address emerging challenges and improve safety and sustainability in shipping industry. So in the Philippines, we have the Marina or the Maritime Industry Authority. So the Maritime Industry Authority or the Marina was created on 1st of June 1974 as an attached agency to the Office of the President or OP with the insurance of Presidential Decree number 474, otherwise known as the Maritime Industry Decree of 1974, to integrate the development, promotion, and regulation of the maritime industry in the country with the creation of the ministry, now called the Department of Transportation and Communication, or the DOTC, by virtue of Executive Order Number 546, or the Marina, was attached to the DOTC for policy and program coordination on 23 of July 1979. By the virtue of Republic Act Number 9295 on May 3, 2004, Marina has the following functions. First is the register vessels. Second is the issue certificate of the convenience or any extensions of or amendments thereto, authorizing the operation of all kinds, classes, and types of vessels in domestic shipping, provided that no such certificate shall be valid for a period or more than 25 years. Third, the modify, suspend, or revoke at any time, upon notice and hearing, any certificate, license, or accreditation it may be issued to any domestic ship operator. Fourth, the establish and prescribe routes, zones, or areas of operation and domestic ship operators. And the fifth, require any domestic ship operators to provide shipping service to any coastal area, island, or region in the country which such as services are necessary for the development of the area to meet emergency sea life requirements or which the public interest so requires. So, next is the set safety standard for vessels in accordance with applicable convention and regulation. 7. The required all domestic ship operators to comply with operational and safety standards for vessels set by applicable conventions and regulations, maintain its vessels in safe serviceable condition, meet the standards of safety of all life at sea and safe manning requirements, and furnish ship adequate, reliable, and proper service at all times. Then 8. Aspect all Inspect all vessels to ensure and enforce compliance with safety standards and other regulations. 9. Ensure that all domestic ship operators shall have the financial capacity to provide and sustain safe, reliable, efficient, and economic passengers or cargo service or both. 10. That determine the impact which any new service shall have to the locality it will serve. 11. Adopt and enforce such rules and regulation which will ensure compliance by every domestic ship operators with required safety standard and other rules and regulation on vessel safety. 12. Adopt such rules and regulations with which will ensure the reasonable stability of passengers and freight rates and if necessary to intervene in order to protect public interest. 13. Hear and educate any complaint made in writing involving any violation of this law or the rules and regulation of the Marina. 14. Impose such fines and penalties on including the revocation of license, any domestic ship operator who shall fail to maintain its vessels in safe and serviceable conditions or who shall violate or fail to comply with safety regulations. 15. Investigate any complaint made in writing against any domestic ship operator or any shipper or any group of shippers regarding any matters involving violations of the provision of this act, and upon notice and hearing, impose such fines, suspended or revoke certificates of public convenience, other license issued, or otherwise penalties any ship operator, shipper, or group of shippers found violating the provision of this act. And the last one is the issue such rules and regulation necessary to implement the provision of this act, provided that such rule and regulations cannot change or any way amend or be contrary to the extent or purpose of this act. So, authority to operate. No franchise, certificate, or any other form authorization awarded by Marina for the carriage of cargo or passenger or both in domestic trade shall be granted except of domestic ship owners or operators. The term domestic ship owner or operator means a citizen of the Philippines or commercial partnership owned by Filipinos or a corporation, at least 60% of the capital of which is owned by Filipino, which is duly authorized by the Maritime Industry Authority or the Marina to engage in the business of domestic shipping. However, foreign vessels who may wish to engage in trade and commerce within the Philippines territorial water may be granted a special permit by the Marina, with no domestic vessels are available or suitable to provide the needed shipping service and where public interest warrants the same. By the reason of the deregulations of the domestic shipping industry as mandated by the Republic Act No. 9295 and to encourage investment in the domestic shipping industry, domestic ship operators are now authorized to establish their own shipping rates, provided that effective competition is fostered and public interest is served. So now let's go to the regulation of the transportation. The concept of land transportation system in the Philippines started when our ancestors invented means of locomotion. The early means of transportation used were animals in moving people and goods from place to place. Although the means of land transportation during the early days were not as sophisticated as the modern vehicle of today, and the roads not as well constructed, the early Filipino also observed some laws to govern their mobility. These laws were an informal and simple as specify which animals could be used for certain purpose. However, the existence of these rules showed that our ancestors had already felt the need to regulate transportation system. Today, it is the Land Transportation Office or the LTO and the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board or the LTFRB, which are the agency involved in the regulation of the land transportation industry. The LTO is the proper agency which controls the regulations and operations of motor vehicle and the licensing of owner, dealers, drivers, and similar matters under the Clean Air Act of 1999. Vehicles must pass the emission testing requirements to be administered by the Department of Transportation and Communication as prerequisite for registration. On the other hand, the function of LTFRB areas follows. So the first is to prescribe and regulate routes of service, economically available capacities, and zones of areas of operate of public land transportation services provided by motorized vehicle in accordance with the public lands transportation development plans programs approved by the Department of Transportations and Communication. Next is to issue, amend, revise, suspend, or cancel certificate of public convenience or permit authorizing the operation of the public land transportation services provided by the motorized vehicles and prescribe the appropriate terms of and conditions. Therefore, to determine, prescribe, and approve and periodically review and adjust reasonable fares, rates, and other related charges relative to the operation of public land transportation services provided by motorized vehicle. Next is to issue preliminary or permanent injunction, whether prohibitory or mandatory, in all cases in which is has jurisdiction, or mandatory in all cases in which jurisdiction, in which cases that pertinent provision of rules of court shall apply. Next, to punish for contempt of the board, both direct and indirect, in accordance with the pertinent provisions and the penalty prescribed by the rules of the court. Next is the to issue subpoena or subpoena decus tecum in the summon witness to appear in any proceeding of the board to administer oaths and affirmations. Next is to conduct investigation and hearing of compliance for violation of public services, laws on land transportation, and of the board's rules and regulations, order, decisions, and ruling, and to impose fines or penalties for such violators. Next is to promulgate rules and regulations governing proceeding before the board of the Regional Franchising and Regulatory Office, provide the except with respect to paragraph, the rules of procedures and evidence prevailing in the courts of law should not be controlling in it is the spirit and intention of the rules that the board in the Regional Franchising and Regulatory Office shall use every and all reasonable means to ascertain facts. It is case expeditiously and objectively, and without regard to technicalities of laws and procedures in all the interests of due process. Next is to fix, impose, and collect, and periodically review and adjust reasonable fees and other related charges of services rendered. Next is to formulate, promulgate, and administer, implement, and enforce rules and regulation on land transportation public utilities, standard of measurement, and other design, and rules and regulation requiring operators of any public land transportation services to equip, install, and provide in their utilities and operating procedure and techniques as may promote safety, protection, comfort, and convenience to the person and property and their charges, as well as the safety of person and property within their areas of operations. Next is to coordinate and cooperate with other government agency and entities concerned any aspects involving public land transportation services with the end of in views of affecting continuing improvement of such services, and to perform such other functions and duties as may provided by the law, or as may be necessary or proper or incidental to the purposes and objectives of this executive order. The LTFRB has been delegated the authority by the legislator to fix the rates of public services. However, this authority cannot be delegated to a common carrier, a transport operators, or other public services. Now, for accreditation of transportation vehicles by the Department of Tourism. This involved the minimum requirements for the operation, establishment, and maintenance of transportation vehicles in order to be accredited by the Department of Tourism. Accreditation by the Department of Tourism, although not mandatory in nature, increases the marketability of transportation vehicle. So, there are standard requirements for the tourist land transportation vehicle. To be registrable, every tourist transport must be found roadworthy upon inspection by a team from the Department of Tourism. In the case of bus or coaster, it shall not be more than 10 years reckoned from the year of manufacture. For the tourist car, it shall not be no more than 5 years reckoned from the year of manufacture, provided, however, that tourist luxury car shall have maximum allowable age of 10 years. For this purpose, luxury cars shall refer assembled manufactured. Every tourist transport shall be provided with a left-hand drive. It shall be properly equipped with adequate air conditioning units, and it shall be provided or installed with at least one portable fire extinguisher for the protection of its passenger. For tourist buses or coaster, a public address system shall be installed. Every tourist transport unit shall be provided within a first aid kit and an adequate supply of emergency medicine. It shall have clean, comfortable seats and shall have enough leg room and sufficient storage space. Lastly, every transport operator shall provide an adequate garage and repair shop for the maintenance of its equipment, as well as the parking space sufficient to accommodate all its registered units. In case of original registration and or transfer of ownership of the tourist transport, the necessary clearance for the appropriate unit of the Philippine National Police should be secured prior to registration. So, standard requirement for tourist water transport vessels. There should be at least one restroom, each with toilet and washing facilities for male and female, located at the passenger accommodation area. In addition, there should be a common toilet and bath at the cabin area for long haul trip. Tissue paper, soap, and hand paper towel should be provided. A receptionist should be available to use your guest. There should be a refreshment area which should be well stocked at all times. In case a long haul trips, a drilling area capable of seating at least one-fourth of the total area of the total passenger at one serving should be provided with appropriate and well-maintained furniture. There should be a promenade or airing space at the upper deck for the exclusive use of passenger. There should be a baggage provided with racks of similar convenient and safe storage in the passenger accommodation area. Adequate number of well-trained, well-groomed, experienced, efficient, and courteous staff should be employed. They shall wear clean uniforms at all times. Frontline staff should have a good speaking knowledge of English. Adequate lighting arrangement and fixtures should be installed in all levels of the vessel in accordance with the Philippine Merchant Marine rules and regulation. So for the air transport, standard requirements for tourist air transport are adequate life-saving devices and adequate communication equipment should be provided in accordance with the requirements prescribed by the Air Transportation Office. Documents required to support application for accreditation to operate as a tourist transport operators. So first is the mayor permit or the municipal license. Next is the business name certificate and all amendments there. If any, the case of single proprietorship, in the case of corporations or partnership, a certified true copy of the articles of incorporation, it bylaws of articles of partnership and amendments, if any duly registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission. So next, proof ownership or contracts of lease over an area adequate to serve as maintenance depot, dispute, and garage for all of its units. Next is the list of name of all officials and employees and their respective designation, nationalities, home address, and certified correct under oath by the general manager or president, and such other papers or documents as may be required from the time to time by the department. So for the land transportation, a copy of LT So for the land transportation, a copy of the LTFRB certificate of franchise of authorization for tourist car bus services, a copy of transportation rates as approved by the LTFRB pictures of the vehicle showing side, back, and front views. Therefore, with the company and the logo imprinted on its rear and sides respectively, and such as other papers or document as may be required from time to time for department. For water transport, a company of certificate of the public convenience and necessity issued by Maritime Industry Authority or the Marina. A copy of the transportation rates as approved by the Maritime Industry Authority. Picture of the vessels showing the side, back, and the front view therefore with the company name and logo imprinted at its sides. A company routes to be served and schedules such as other paper documents as may be required from time to time for the department. For air transport, a company of certificate of public convenience and necessity issued by the Civil Aeronautics Board, a copy of the transportation rates as approved by the Civil Aeronautic Board, pictures of the plane showing the side, back, and front view thereof with the company name and logo imprinted at its sides, a company of routes to be served and flight schedules, and such other papered or documented as may be required from time to time by the department. Motorized boat o bangka engaged in tourist services shall mean a vessel of 20 gross tonnage o GRT and below engaged in providing and water transport services including sightseeing and other water-related tourist activity to foreign or domestic tourists for a fee or any compensation. For purpose of accreditation, the boat or bangka shall be made of good quality materials and in accordance with marina standards. The boat bangka shall be provided the following equipment: life-saving and firefighting equipment and facilities, adequate number of life vests as specific in the Marina Certificate of Inspection to be given to worn by passengers upon boarding, adequate number of required firefighting facilities in accordance with the Philippine Merchant Marine Rules and Regulation or the PMMR, and first aid kit with adequate supplies of emergency medicines. So, adequate lighting and flashlight are and radio equipment. The boat or bangka shall be provided adequate waste bin, and there shall be a short briefing on the boat rules on safe travel, proper waste disposal, and other concerns. Before boarding or an adequate notice thereof or brochures shall be conspicuously displayed on the motorized boat or bangka or given to the passengers. The boat or bangka shall be named by the two boatmen who are well trained, efficient, and courteous, and with proper work permit or license from Marina. The boatman shall wear identification cards and clean uniform prescribed by the Department of Tourism at all times and provided optimum service geared on the passenger safety, comfort, and convenience. The following may apply for accreditation as operator of motorized boat or bangka engaged in tourist activities and services. First is a single proprietorship owned by a resident Filipino citizen. A partnership organized under the laws of Philippines, at least 60% of its capital being owned by a Filipino citizen. And a corporate organized under the laws of Philippines, at least 60% subscribe common or voting shares of its stocks, which is owned by a Filipino citizen, and composition of its boards of directors being at least 60% Filipinos. The application for accreditation shall be accompanied by the following documents. First is in the case of single proprietorship, a business name certificate and all amendments that are duly registered with the Bureau of Trade Regulations and Consumer Protection, Department of Trade and Industry. In the case of corporate or partnership, a certified copy of articles of incorporation, partnership, and its bylaw and amendments thereof therefore duly registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Mayor's permit and municipal license. Next is the resolution of board directors, authorizing the filling of the application of designating the person authorized to sign and act for in each behalf and transact business with the department. If single proprietorship or partnership, a letter of authority from owner or partners. Next is the complete list of its officers and employees, indicating their nationality, home address, and position, certified correct under the oath by the general manager or president. The Marina documents, copy of Marina documents, certificate of its inspection with validity shall be less than 3 months from the date of filing of application with the department, and a valid certificate of public convenience of the CPC, professional authority or the PA, the special permit or the SP, valid copy of the compulsory passengers insurance and with appropriate coverage for passengers, a copy of rates and routes to be served as schedules, and such other documents to the department required from time to time. And that's all for my topic about the registration of aircraft, uh, regulation of shipping industry, and land transportation. Thank you.